If you have chickens, you might already know this, but in case you didn't know, chickens don't ever want to show weakness. All right, they just simply don't. They want to keep their place in the pecking order, and they want to make sure that nobody thinks they're weak. They look strong as possible, so that they don't get bullied down the pecking order. But if you're kind of curious if maybe they're as healthy as they possibly could be, there are some things to look at on their bodies and in their actions that you may not necessarily know. So let's get my chickens out here in the yard, and we'll go over some of those things with you. Now, many of ours are molting, but I do have one, while she is molting, she's a good example, so let's get her. Now, if you've seen our channel much before, you may have seen this pretty chicken, and at that time her comb was probably a lot more prominent and a lot redder. Right, isn't that right, Gracie? Because when they're molting, their comb will shrink, will get more pale and will shrink. So a lot of times it's much brighter red, and it goes up a little bigger and flops over a little harder, and you just don't have that right now because she's not feeling the best, right? You're not feeling the best, sorry, Gracie, but you're gonna get better. So one thing you can look at is their comb. You know, if they're not molting and they have been laying eggs, then, and their comb starts, go ahead, Gracie, and their comb starts getting pale, that's a sign something could be going on. That's one thing, very simple idea. The comb is getting pale, and for no reason, for no apparent reason, right? That's a good sign. Okay, it's hard to say necessarily, but if their comb is getting pale, that means they're probably depressed, stressed, you know, weak, something like that. But if their comb is getting pale, then something's been working on them for quite a while. Now, Gracie had to move on because she went down, right? She's molting. Another thing is when they're molting, they're pretty tender, okay? So they don't really like being handled that much because they're tender, and because their quills are poking into them. It's like little pins sticking into the skin. I can imagine, right? So she didn't really want to be held that much. So this one you don't need an example for, but their poop, honestly, their manure, it's a good sign if there's something going on inside their gut or not. So, like, you should see a lot of really solid poop, or more solid poop with a good white cap on it, okay? There's gonna be other kinds of manure out that they let out, okay? But most consistent should be a good solid poop with a good white cap. There will be some messy, stinky, you know, brown poop that's horrible. That should be not very often. And once in a while, maybe a couple times a year, you might see like them shed their intestinal lining, okay, which will be like maybe like a little string of almost blood look inside their poop. But that should be very rare, okay? If you see blood in their poop often, you probably have coccidiosis, okay? And that should not be. Bloody diarrhea is coccidiosis. I need to get it before it destroys everybody, personally, okay? But also there's other things that could be going on if you're not having good consistent poop. Now, if it's been really hot and they drank a lot of water, it might get kind of thin, okay? But overall, it shouldn't be that way. So under normal circumstances, it should be exactly more solid poop. If it's not, maybe they need some more grit, or maybe you need to add grit to their food if you haven't been. Grit, they need rocks, okay? That helps them break down their food and helps them digest it properly. Now, if you're doing all that and there's other issues and you got issues going on, hey, something's going on inside their gut, you kind of need to start investigating a little more deeply, okay? And maybe apple cider vinegar in their water, organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar in their water a little bit. That can help, you know, just some things like that if you're just looking for something in general. But no matter what, if the poop looks messy and abnormal fairly often, you've got some issues, okay? So let's get Gracie back in here. Talk about her feet. Let's see if we can show them your feet. Show them your feet, Gracie. See your little feet right here? Should have good feet. See, she's got good feet. I don't see no sores, no scabs, nothing crazy, no swelling, right? There's no bumblefoot there, is there, Gracie? No bumblefoot. She's not comfortable. Not happy at all. But should have good feet. They're pads of their feet, right? They can get bumblefoot. Now that's you know, nothing to be alarmed about, but just something to be taken seriously and taken care of, okay? And like, they don't like having wet bedding. They They don't like jumping down hard surfaces or walking across rocks or craggy areas like that. Those things can harm their feet. Okay, so if you look at their feet and then there's a sore there, okay, they can get random little spots, okay, that's okay, but you'll see a sore there that is also red and puffy, okay, then you're going to need to take care of that, and it's bumblefoot, and that's a little involved that we're not going to go into that right now. If you need to know how to do that, well, maybe Angela Kay can help me do a video because she's really good at it. But a lot of times that can be caused, like in our situation, we have a solid floor, so we need to keep bedding on it in a good, fairly thick layer, because that softens the blow when they jump down. Okay, they'll jump down, hit, and bam. Some chickens hit harder than others, but that can harm their feet and cause bumblefoot. Okay, and so you gotta make sure that you got a good thick layer to padding it down, and sometimes it kind of gets pushed aside, and that's when you start having issues if you don't get it taken care of, or if they just do it randomly on their own, because sometimes you can't help it. So, but look at their feet, okay? If you see abnormalities, that's a word, then you need to get taken care of, especially like any scrapes or cuts too, bleeding. You don't want that becoming infected. Wild chickens are very hardy, and they're very good at taking care of themselves. Honestly, if you got backyard chickens, do your best to take care of them. And this is Layla. You see her comb is much redder because she's still laying eggs. But oh no! But she doesn't want to be taking her time away from being on the grass. Do you, Layla? Now, another thing you can do is look in their eyes. Okay, looking in their eyes may sound a little weird, but I mean, like Gracie's eyes, she's a little weak because she's molting. But a lot of times they should be very bright-eyed, bright and active, right? Okay, but if you look in their eyes and you see a little bubble in their eye, they can have bubbles in their eyes if they have a respiratory infection. Okay, so if you get a respiratory infection, try to figure out what you need to do for that. So if you suspect you have some respiratory problems, you can get this at Tractor Supply for sure, if not probably some other places as well. But VetRx, see right here, it says for the support of healthy respiratory function. So what we've done before in the past is if we just suspect that there's a chicken with a little bit of respiratory issue, not an infection, but just maybe not breathing as well as they could be, we'll just take that little Q-tip, dampen the end of the Q-tip, rub it around their nose. Yes, they have nostrils. Okay, not nose, but they have nostrils on their beak. See, just rub it around her little nostrils right there. See those nostrils? Okay, rub it around those nostrils with a little Q-tip. See, in there, just right there on top. Duty's a little crazy, sorry. But so just rub it around their nostrils there, and they'll breathe it in. Most of them like the smell of this because it's got a rosemary oil, okay, and so they kind of like that smell. And just breathe it in, and it really helps their respiratory function. So we talked about their comb, their eyes, their manure, their feet, and one more thing: check under their wings. Lift their wings up and look at it, and see what's going on under there. See if you got mites, red mites or bird mites, okay? Red mites are far worse than bird mites. Bird mites can happen randomly. You can get that in your bedding. It's easily taken care of with some diatomaceous earth, in your bedding, on your roost. Get all that stuff taken care of, and it'll kill the bird mites, no problem. Real easily, okay? They'll dust bathe in it. They'll get it on their skin. They'll be fine, okay? Red mites, you don't want that, right? So that's that may be another issue in general, and it's also much more harmful. They're a harsher parasite. They suck blood out of their chickens, making them more anemic, stressing them out, and that will affect their laying and their overall health in general. See, you need your chickens happy and healthy, even when they're molting. That way, they give you good eggs, and see how they walk. See how they scratch and everything else. They need all this. They need good feet. They need, a good diet. They need, to be able to breathe well. All these things are necessary for their lives, but they don't show you if they're not feeling good. So you got to find that out for yourself. Pay attention to them and look and make sure they're doing okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. My name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.